One of the most important jobs at an ADAA trial is that of the scorekeeper and scribe. They are there to record the details of each run, including the time, number of course faults, points gained for a game, and whether or not the dog was eliminated or otherwise. This video is to provide the viewer with some guidance in how to be a scribe. Okay, so what does the scribe do exactly? The scribe records any and all faults signalled by the judge, as well as recording the time. Special pre-printed sheets are supplied by the competition secretary to do this. There are various types of tests involved in ADAA trials, and I will go through each one separately, but here are some key things that you need to do as a scribe. Watch the judge at all times. I know it's tempting to watch the dog, especially when it's a friend's dog, but quite often if you watch the dog you can miss some signals as things happen very quickly in dog agility. Acknowledge the judge when they ask you if you are ready. Judges understand that the scribe table can be caught up with something in between runs and usually check in to see if the scribe table is ready for the next dog. Be ready to give a quick head nod or a thumbs up to signal to the judge you are ready to go. Check that you have the correct dog that appears in your scribe sheet. Quite often, dogs' names are pre-written on the scribe sheet along with the type of test that is currently being run. Sometimes the dog due to run on your scribe sheet is not available, where it be due to them running in another ring or otherwise. And it may be a different dog, in which case you may need to look up the correct sheet or simply write the dog's name on a new sheet. Hopefully, the marshal will have told you the name of the dog about to run, but if not, please check with the marshal if you are not sure and if it is the correct dog. If not, don't be afraid to tell the judge you are not ready. The judge will ask the handler to wait until you are ready.
The dog's name, please. It's Micah.
Some handlers may opt to use the run as a chance to train in the ring, in which case they will indicate to the judge that they are about to start a not for competition run. They will indicate this to the judge by way of forming a T shape with their arms and may call out not for competition. The judge will acknowledge this by showing the same signal back to the table. If the handler chooses to run not for competition, simply write NFC on the scribe sheet and watch the handler and dog. If the handler crosses the plane of the first hurdle, you will need to start the clock by pressing the big black button as displayed on the screen. If the dog crosses the hurdle first, they will start the time and you will not need to do this. Each not for competition run should take no more than the standard course time so that they do not cause lengthy delays in the running of a competition. Therefore, just like in an elimination, you need to watch the clock for time faults. When there are time faults shown on the screen and the handler and dog are still on the course, you need to sound the horn so that they know that their time is up and they need to leave the course. Once the dog has started, listen for the timing gear. If you do not hear it go as the dog passes through the gate, check to see if the clock has started. If not, you need to sound the horn before the dog reaches the fourth obstacle. If you cannot sound the horn before the dog reaches the fourth obstacle, do not sound the horn at all, and let the judge know immediately after the run that the timing gear did not start. There are a number of signals that the judges use to communicate to the scribe table. The first that we will look at is the standard course fault. A course fault is signalled by the judge with an open hand raised in the air. When you see this signal, you need to check to see what obstacle the dog was at when the judge used the signal, and either draw one of the symbols, or something like the symbol displayed on this screen, that represents the obstacle that the fault occurred at, or make some kind of notation as to what the fault was for. I find that also writing an F near the symbol also helps you count the number of Fs at the end of the run so you can calculate the total course faults. Next, there is a refusal fault. A refusal fault is signalled by the judge with a clenched fist raised in the air. When you see this signal, you need to cross off one of the boxes containing an R on the left-hand side of your scribe sheet. You can also draw a symbol representing the obstacle that was refused next to this box. Note that there are only 3 boxes with the R down the side of the scribe sheet. This is because once all of these boxes are crossed, the dog is then eliminated. The judge will signal an elimination when this happens. The elimination is signalled by the judge who will form a cross of their arms. When you see the signal, you can write E on the sheet. Next, check the timing display to see if there are any time faults displayed. The reason for this is that once the dog is eliminated, they must leave the course when the standard course time is reached. If the dog is still running the course and time faults are displayed, you need to sound the horn. This will signal to the judge that their time is up and they will ask the handler to leave the course. Another signal you may come across is the dismissal signal. This is shown by the judge making a sweeping motion with their hand across their neck. This is rarely used, however. If you do encounter it, you can treat this similar to the elimination signal. Write D on the sheet, however there is no need to check the timing display as the judge will ask the handler to leave the course immediately. At the end of each run, the judge will signal, usually with a verbal, how many faults that they signalled. Where the dog ran without fault, they will signal via the clear round signal, which is two hands brought together to form an O shape. Otherwise, they will hold up the number of fingers that correspond to the number of faults and call out the number of faults. The number of faults are counted in multiples of 5. So, for example, if the judge signalled a course fault once, they will actually incur 5 faults. This is why many judges will call out the number of faults as 1 for 5, meaning that there's one mistake which incurs 5 faults. Always check that the number of faults that you have matches the number that the judge advises at the end of the run. If it does not match, then query the judge as soon as practical, that is without interrupting a dog already running, and let them know which faults you have recorded. Sometimes it is the judge who has the wrong number, as they may have forgotten to reset the counter, and sometimes it is that the scribe missed a call. Either way, it is imperative that you let the judge know ASAP, as judges tend not to remember every single run they judge. At the end of each run, which has not ended in an elimination, there are a few things you need to do. Firstly, record the dog's time. Next, record any time faults displayed on the timing gear into the time faults box on the scribe sheet. Add up all the course and refusal faults and enter this in the course faults box. Finally, add the numbers in the course faults and time faults box and enter this in the total faults box. Once this is complete, you can then either pass it to the scorekeeper, if there is one, or file it away in any boxes or folders provided. Sometimes, even though the dog may still be running, the clock may stop by itself. If this happens, don't panic. There is a restart button that you can press on the timing display and it will resume the clock. When the run is complete, please let the judge know that there was a problem with the clock stopping, in case there are some settings on the timing gear that need to be addressed. One thing that may happen is that the clock may not stop when the dog has finished the run. If this happens, there is a stop button, that is, the big black one, that you can use to stop the clock. Again, let the judge know that the clock did not stop and so that they can check the settings are correct. One thing that can happen is that the eyes on the timing gear, that is, the two posts set up next to the start hurdle and finish hurdle, are not aligned correctly. This can occur after a height or a course change and it will show up as an X on the timing display. If this happens, please alert the judge prior to the dog running, as the timing gear will almost definitely malfunction. As mentioned previously, there are a number of different types of tests. There are the standard agility and jumping tests, but there are also games. Two of the most common played games are snooker and gamblers. Because they are so often played, there are specially printed scribe sheets to record these runs. We will firstly concentrate on the game of snooker. Snooker involves the scribe accurately recording each of the numbers called out by the judge. You will notice on the scribe sheet that there is a listing of numbers in dark circles down the left-hand column. Because snooker is based on a popular billiard game, colours are also written against each number. For the purposes of scribing, you can ignore these colours and just concentrate on the numbers. You will note that there are two headings, that is, closing on the left-hand side of the dotted column and opening on the right-hand side of the dotted column. This is because there are two parts to this snooker game. Firstly, the dog completes the opening part of the game. So, when you first hear the judge calling out numbers for each run, place a tick next to the number that was called out under the opening heading. You will find that the judge will call out a number from 2 to 7, followed by a 1. Each time a 1 is called out, cross off one of the number 1s in dark circles at the bottom of the page. As you will see, there are only 3 1s to cross off. Once you've crossed off all of these 1s and have 3 ticks under the opening column, you'll need to start ticking off numbers under the closing column. These will be called out in the order from 2 to 7. So, just listen for the judge to call the actual number before you place a tick against the actual number. Finally, don't forget to put the dog's time into the scribe sheet from the timing gear. This is important even though the dog may not have completed the snooker round successfully, as it can be used to work out the final placings. When scribing a gambler's course, you will be given a special scribe sheet as shown on the screen. The game of gamblers is split into two parts, similar to snooker. The first part is to collect points in a given time, of anywhere from 30 seconds to 60 seconds. The horn then sounds and the handler will go to attempt the second part, which is basically a section of the course that they have to handle at a distance. During the first part, the judge will call out a number for each obstacle that the dog correctly attempts. Your job as the scribe is to write down each number as they are called out. After the horn sounds, the judge will not call out any more numbers and will only call out whether the gamble, which is the second part of the game, was achieved or not. You also need to indicate on the scribe sheet what the judge called out for this part of the game. As with all agility runs, please ensure you copy down the time from the timing gear onto your scribe sheet. If you are not near the timing gear, there should be another person at the table who will do this job for you. Sometimes, during the first part of the game, the judge may also call out Joker. If this is the case, please make a note that the Joker was played on the scribe sheet, as this adds extra points. Okay, so that gives you a basic outline of how to scribe at an ADAA competition. I hope this helps you with your understanding of the role of the scribe. As of anything, if you don't understand something, please don't hesitate to ask someone, as it is better to ask the question, as it could save so much time for the competition secretary and judges at the end of the night. Good luck, and I hope to see you scribing at the next competition.